All right, guys, let's jump into whether or not this is the dip to buy. Crypto, of course, has been adjusting down. We're going to break it all out for you, and it's going to be with a good guest today. Before we get into it, I do want to thank our sponsor, and this is a special offer for you guys. OKX is running an exclusive affiliate offer where you can earn up to $500 in XRP rewards just by hitting a few simple milestones. Step one, tier one, you can complete the KYC. You get $10 in XRP. If you go to step two, which is $100 on a deposit, you get another 40. Then you can bump that deposit and trade volume of just $1,000 and you grab an additional $100 in XRP. Best of all, for the heavy hitters out there, if you deposit and trade 10 grand, you can unlock a massive $350 XRP reward. This stacks onto all of this. So boom, you get up to $500 max earning, and it's paid directly out in XRP. So click the link down below. You guys are not going to miss this one. It is an awesome one. All right, let's jump into it today. I want to welcome into the show Mr. Tim Warren coming in. How are you, Tim?
Doing great. Good to be back on the show, Paul. How you been?
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Summer is almost here and we are ready to rock. Yes. The question is how are the markets going to respond? I got a couple of tweets I want to show you, and I want to get your opinion. And I also have some Tim foil hat ideas that ready. We'll throw past you as well. So we'll get into that. We got a tweet here from Trump. And here it is right here. Gary Gensler and the anti-crypto army nearly destroyed the American crypto market. And of course, he's talking by something that I don't know that anybody has ever seen before. And that is this topic around crypto perpetuals. Trump is talking about, literally listed out there, perpetuals and innovation. So when you look at this, and this is really kind of his first real statement saying, hey, we need the market structure bill to pass and future-proof digital assets for for America. What's your percentage right now on Clarity?
Percentage on it passing?
Yeah, of passing.
Yeah, I'm going to put it, I don't think it's wise to ever say 100% for anything. So let's go with like 90 to 95%.
Whoa, okay. All right.
And my reasoning for that is because of the investment from large institutions. Like we know that they've been the ones kind of going back and forth on things. Even think about the banks. Obviously, we just had a huge argument between the banks and the crypto firms that we always kind of had this feeling like there were some language details that need to be worked out. But the large banks, I'm not talking about your little local bank who maybe will get pushed out and crushed by crypto. We're talking about the JP Morgans and the Fidelities and all these other large banks. They want crypto to go through. They realize the writing's on the wall. If they want to exist as institutions in the finance world, they need to utilize cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So what we've seen recently is billions of dollars of investments into infrastructure to prepare for a overhaul of utilizing crypto. They wouldn't have invested in that kind of stuff if they don't see it happening at least at some point this year or soon. So I'm because of the money they're spending, I'm very high on the Clarity Act, but I do think they're going to make it very dramatic. I do think it's going to be a whole event all the way until the final signing day.
Well, okay. So we agree on one thing, and I think that is there's going to be a lot of drama.
Yes.
I'm much more lower in terms of the percentage to pass. I actually feel like this may get stalled out. I'm a little concerned that this is being thrown into a political pond as we go into midterms. We'll see. I mean, it really, the timeline is getting so tight. It's difficult. But if you look at the other statements that he made, he literally said, I will never let crypto down. This is crazy for the president of the United States to make that. And then of course you get Bitcoin and it dumps 2,000 after that tweet. So
yeah,
what do the Bitcoin crowd know that maybe we don't when it comes to where the market is heading right now? So we'll see how that plays out. But hey, listen, you have the concern right here, and this is Lummis warning of a regulatory dark age if the Clarity Act stalls. Here's my theory. So if it does stall and the administration tries to spin this in some way to possibly win a handful of seats in the midterms to try to retain the Senate, because right now it's still kind of iffy on whether or not the Republicans retain the Senate. I guess the real question would be, could they even pass it afterwards? So Jake was talking about this. He says there's not much time. it's to get it done. It may seem quiet, but right now is when the work's supposed to get done. So even he says easier said than done. Let's get into whether or not we got to buy the dip. Okay, so I want to play a clip. This is Mark Cudmore, and he talks about, is this the time to do it? Take a look.
100% that the dip buyers come in. I just think that they must be almost out of momentum. You look at almost any way to value anything. You look at the IPOs, we got this here from SpaceX and OpenAI. You just look at the earnings projections. Everything is priced to extreme. So of course the dip buyers are going to come in. The problem is, I just think that real economics is going to squeeze them. And the dynamic is now is that so much of the real economy actually depends on the wealth effect from this kind of booming stock market. So the reason I'm kind of transitioning from, the 2 weeks ago kind of tactically a little bit more negative on markets, but thinking you'd ultimately buy this dip, to not be convinced you buy the dip, is that I think the conditions are now ripe for a negative spiral to start, because the economy is only holding up in this K-shaped economy because enough consumers have a positive wealth effect from the stock market booming. If the stock market starts suffering, then they start consuming less. The economic damage gets worse. That means we start trading that negative economic narrative a little bit more aggressively in the stock market. So I now think we're getting close to that tipping point where we can start a negative spiral. I guess I'm still on the fence if this is this is really the top, but I'm now suddenly leaning that way as of yesterday when I wasn't before.
All right, so he's leaning that way. I'm looking at the S&P chart right now. This is the daily, and dude, this is just straight up.
Just keep ripping. Yeah.
So, it's crazy. It's 75.61 right now. We're on another green day, which is continuing to break records. So if this is the case, if we're at the top and we do see a full retracement, how do you think this affects the major assets, especially Bitcoin and ETH? If you chart Bitcoin right now, where do you feel like this falls if, in fact, Cudmore is right and we see a pullback?
Yeah, well, here's something we got to start off with that people have been talking about in the crypto community for years. And that is, when will Bitcoin finally kind of separate from traditional risk assets and the stock market overall and do its own thing? I don't think this is the way people want to see it happen, because that's kind of what we're seeing happen, Paul. We're seeing a division and a split between traditional finance and crypto. The gist is, we wanted to see crypto go up and TradFi go down. We're seeing TradFi go up, crypto go down. But in the same thought process, though, I think it's going to be a perfect storm. I don't think the bottom's in. I've been on your show before. I know people thought maybe I kind of looked like an idiot here a couple of weeks ago saying I don't think the bottom's in. I don't think the bottom's in, and Bitcoin sitting here ripping above 80K. But now I'm looking a little smarter with those claims as we're dropping back down towards 70,000. I think there's going to be a condition where I think the stock market could keep climbing a little bit, and I think crypto could keep falling. I think Bitcoin is going to go down here below this support level. This is a very classic bearish trend with that rising resistance and rising support called a rising channel. It gets even worse when you connect it to that big negative move called a bear flag. I still have a mark, and I made this case, I think, on your channel as well, but on my channel several times now. There's a lot of support at 53K, and technically I could see even down to 48K staying within my realm of what Bitcoin's capable of doing.
Okay.
But what I think is going to happen is, and I'm not going to predict this crash of the stock market that like the stock market has like a 30% pullback or something. But like you just said, this is a ridiculously bullish chart that at some point needs some form of, let's just call it a healthy correction. Let's not even call it a crash or a bear market, just a healthy correction. And so people are going to take profit from the SPY. They're going to take profit from the AI space that's booming. And they're going to say, where's the next asset class that has a lot of excitement about the future, but is underpriced? Go no further than looking at the entire crypto space. Just look at crypto and what's happening right now, and you're going to find exciting technology, ridiculously oversold, and it's going to be ripe for buying in. By the way, when you look at on-chain measures, I know a lot of people just look at price charts. They pay attention to sentiment. Watch what whales are doing. Watch the amount of accounts that hold X amount of Bitcoin or X amount of Ethereum or X amount of Chainlink. They're growing. The larger whale accounts are growing, and outflows from exchanges are starting to increase, which is people putting money into cold storage. This often happens not at the exact bottom, but close to the bottom. And I think I think we're starting to see the signs that wealthy people are accumulating crypto, and they know the time's coming soon. Now, on the charts, I don't think the bottom's in, and one of the biggest reasons why is because the daily bullish divergence is not in play yet. We've never had a bear market end without at least daily bullish divergence. If you're wondering what that is when the price drops below the previous low. In this case, daily close was on 62,200. We need the daily candle to close below 62,200. We need the RSI to stay above this low back here at 16, and that'll be the daily bullish divergence. Very easy to do from here. And like I said, I think people have their cases between. I've heard some people be of the camp that says sub 60K needs to come. I've heard people as high as 58 saying 58 is all we need to do. I'm sitting in the middle around 53 is I think just a confluence of support. I've heard a very good case though for 48K to be the level that Bitcoin needs to drop.
Interesting. I'm sure you've been watching what's going on with Ethereum. This, of course, is the Bankless guys. That's David Hoffman, him claiming that he sold all of his ETH. And he got so much pushback that he had to put out a community statement and then wrote a full lengthy article about this. I invite everybody to go read it if you're an ETH maxi or you've purchased ETH before. These Bankless, I would say, is one of the core media groups out there that have been in support of Ethereum in general. When you look at ETH as it is, because I think people are just now looking at, hey, ETH is, the narrative is gone and it's no longer money. The arguments are, proliferating typically around the bottom like it has before.
Yeah.
Where would you put ETH on the chart right now in comparison to your 48K to 53K Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, when I take a look at the ETH chart, I mean, this is one of the I don't want to say more bearish, but less bullish charts of the crypto space here. We were in a similar channel to Bitcoin, but when you have constriction like this, it's more of what we call a rising wedge pattern.
Okay.
You can see here, and I know some people have different trend lines. This is my trend line I have drawn. It connects with these three support levels quite well. We lost that support level here about a week and some change ago. We came back up. If I zoom in, let's go to the 4-hour chart so you can see this. We came back up and pretty much treated it like resistance. So pretty strong, a bearish move right there. This right here suggests to me in this wedge pattern, again, it gets worse if I call this a bear flag, but let's just start with a conservative kind of approach here. I would take a look here and say the prediction for this move comes right back down to a massive support level somewhere here around 1650, 1648 roughly is the area to watch there. When I zoom out, you'll see this is a long-term support trend line going back to the June 2022 lows, right? So we've been in this channel for a long term on Ethereum as well. I think it's very realistic at this point for ETH to drop down there. If the bear flag part of it plays out, we're talking about $1,200. I think I've said this on the show here long before as well. If we lose this support level, I think some people say 1,400. I think you skip that. I think you're playing out the bear flag. We're looking at 1,200. So, but it is one of those things, Paul. I'll say this: that a lot of people look at charts and they try to drive some sort of long-term narrative, and they say, okay, Ethereum is dead. It's just not performing well, and yet. To my knowledge, and I know you read that story that one supporter of Ethereum's kind of sold all their Ethereum, but other big ones are coming in. It is still an institutional favorite at this point. I know BlackRock really likes it. I know that, Mark Cuban just made a big deal about dumping a lot of Bitcoin because he's doubling down on Ethereum. So until I start to see bigger waves happen that actually show me the fundamentals of Ethereum are dead, people have made this mistake before. At one point, people said XRP was dead because the price action wasn't doing anything. And we know that was false. Remember when people thought Solana was dead because the price action wasn't doing anything. And now Solana is the coin that everyone's saying is the reason why Ethereum's going to die. But literally 3 years ago, it was a dead coin, right? So I try not to get too emotional too fast just because price action looks bad, because it doesn't tell the full story. There still is a lot of fundamental long-term support, but from a technical standpoint, I have buy signals down at 1,600, and if those lose, I'll order more down at 1,200 is my next step for Ethereum.
Yeah, so buying the dip for sure. Jumping over to, you speak of Solana, of course, everybody's tagging perps now. And if you guys don't know, Solana grabbed up the perps handle on X for a big reason. Obviously, they are going head-to-head with Hyperliquid. And we could see a lot of activity. I mean, you look at JTX, you look at what's happening with Jupiter, this could be a pretty accelerated opportunity for them to take on Hyperliquid. If you're looking at Solana right now, where would be a good place, Tim, for me, not our audience, but for me, you're coaching Paul now. Where do I buy my next bag of Solana?
Yeah, well, I would say your next DCA should probably be somewhere in this green box area. North end around 78, 40, low end around 75, 72. So this is a support box we've been in since back in February. And you can see here we've just been bouncing back and forth. A couple outliers above resistance, but we keep finding support in this green box.
Yeah.
The problem, again, is this is a sideways channel connected to a big move down. So you could easily call this a bear flag as well. There's two marks I'm looking at. So I have longer term buy signal. So I think a good DCA spot, 77. Because just in case, right? Okay. I always have the just in case I'm wrong. I want to make sure I'm locked in because I think we're closer to the bottom than the top. But realistically, if Bitcoin's going sub 60K, if Ethereum's going to 1600, Solana's probably going closer to 60. And the disaster scenario for me is closer to 50. Like I would almost say, let's compare it to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin makes it to like 53, Solana's probably at $60. If Bitcoin goes to like 48, Solana's probably at $50.
Okay. All right. So Solana at 50 would be the case, at least on the bear side of this, if we do see the kind of numbers that you're talking about, which is pretty significant. All right. So beyond Solana, because let's just jump over to Hype. I want to kind of go to this tweet here by Matt Hougan. Haven't done it a few times, I can say. Discussing Hyperliquid with financial advisors is magic. I've got a clip here from the Rollup. They were talking about this, also talking about it, the easiest sales pitch. And then I want to ask you a question after this. Let's play this clip.
This thing has $1 billion and more of free cash flows, and it's going back to buy the tokens. Like when I talk to institutional investors, all I have to say is that. In the same way that the Ethereum Foundation is like looking for Tom Lee and some of these other DATs to like go be their institutional BD, these Hyperliquid ETFs just unlock this next wave of incentive-aligned Wall Street salesmen. Like it's exactly what we needed to get this thing to allocators and to make this pitch kind of go global.
The token is the product. The Hyperliquid team is not paying for a thing, not for marketing, not for market makers, not for listings, not for ETFs. They're not paying for a thing. Matt took it upon himself and upon himself and on behalf of Bitwise to go out, find the asset that is going to help his customers.
Most people think it's a crypto app targeting the $3 trillion crypto market. It's a super app targeting the $600 trillion global asset market. And that's why it's so exciting. If it were just doing crypto futures, it'd be just about tapped out. But it has barely penetrated into the rest of all assets, which is actually the market it's going after.
So remember, Matt's got a dog in the hump. He's got a Hyperliquid fund out there. Yeah. He's very happy about it. There's been a lot of talk about Hyperliquid just mainly because of what it's been doing over the past 6 months. Where would you put Hyperliquid right now? Do you think this is due for a pullback, or do you think this is just the beginning of a super cycle because of perpetuals?
It's hard because Hype is running off so much sentiment right now and pump, what I would call pumpamentals. But when I take a look at it and I look at my indicators, in this case, I'm going to put a look at my Neurowave indicator. We have red reversal, bearish, a bearish momentum dot and negative money flow. This is on the daily chart, by the way. So that's a decent daily sell signal. Doesn't promise me a colossal crash, but these previous ones we've had have had decent pullbacks. Let's call them decent pullbacks. Now here's where I'll say the pumpamentals kind of come in, because this rising wedge pattern, 70% of the time we're going to get a bearish breakout. And it ended up pumping to the upside instead. Why? Because the sentiment's so good, the fundamentals are so good. So it's hard to bet against Hype. Where I would turn bearish on it, like I'm bullish on Hype right now. Where I would turn bearish is if we come up with a weekly sell signal. And right now, I'm just not seeing that necessarily play out. It looks like we just got back up here. We don't have bearish divergence on the weekly chart. I think it's unwise to enter long-term shorts just yet on Hype, but it could get there. Let me actually take a look here real quick with you. I actually haven't checked this out. Yeah, we have those daily sell signals. We don't even officially have a 2 daily sell signal yet. It's close. It looks like the 2 day is about to happen, but if we don't even have the 2 day, it might take a couple of weeks for the weekly prints off on us. Where I'm looking though is with the daily sell signal being in here, and you'll probably find some bearish stuff down below. I told our community 2 levels that I was keeping an eye on. The first one, we just bounced here pretty much yesterday around 56. The other one back down towards this red line, if I were to extend this out, around 53, 52 is the next area I would look for. And then what you're looking for at those levels And by the way, we're getting it here today. As we hit my first level here at 56, the 4-hour chart now, you're seeing some buys starting to sweep back in for short-term scalping. That's not a long-term chart, but that's what I'm saying right there is it's clearly in a bull trend, higher highs and higher lows. We do have a sell signal on the daily chart, but not up on the weekly chart. And in a bullish trend, sell signals are just healthy corrections, healthy pullbacks. They don't bring lower lows and lower highs guaranteed. Yeah. Weekly sell signals, that would be a different call. That would be something I would take a lot more seriously.
It's really the winning chart right now in crypto. I would say it's the darling of it. If it's barely penetrated, where is Hyperliquid going to go? If Perps gets fully released within clarity, or at least the SEC kind of getting in a position where they're going to let this go through, what would be your bull case for hype? Let's go with a bull case and a bear or a base case for Hyperliquid.
Man, that's a hard one. I haven't thought about the long-term perspective there. I'd have to look at some market cap stuff and do some analysis on that one. I did say to my community that until we confirm a sell signal on the weekly chart, my target would be back up towards a trend of resistance towards almost $80, 79, okay, 79.50, give or take.
All right, so let's jump over to ONDO real quick. You had the founder of ONDO, Nathan Allman. He passed away at the age of 32.
Yeah.
And ONDO gets dumped. This is pretty sad because we actually were going to have the ONDO team on before this happened. Mm-hmm. And when the terrible news hit, ONDO, of course, gets nailed. Do you think this is just the community kind of in a position of, God, this is terrible for our chain when you have a major founder in there? Do you think it can bounce back as an asset?
Well, let's start off with the fact that it's not really collapsing that hard at the moment. I mean, you can say it's down from where it was the other day, and you zoom in here, but all things considered, compared to the rest of the crypto space, it's actually technically still in a bullish trend. Yeah, I had a support level that I actually had this level back up here when we first crossed above like 47, almost 48 cents back here on May 9th. I said, okay, line in the sand support wise right now. This yellow line right here, 33 cents. If we can maintain above 33 cents, there's no reason to be freaking out about ONDO. And you can see, sure enough, we bounced almost perfectly on the line I had drawn. Now, we came up and put in a slightly lower high. So I'm interested to see what this looks like going forward, but we're still above this level overall. So I'm not freaking out about ONDO just yet. If there was this real panic, then I think it would be dropping a lot faster, more furiously than it is. Now, if it starts to lose some partnerships, if some of the people that have worked with it start to say, we want to work with a different real world asset project instead, then I would start to be concerned about ONDO. Yeah. I'll say about the very tragic and sad news of Allman is it looks or appears like he built a team that, even though he might have been a lot of the brains behind the operations, he had a good team around him who's going to be able to continue to do what he first thought would happen. Yeah. So I'm gonna default to trust in the team he leaves behind to say ONDO's still special. They still have all these relationships. I still think they can do well. If it starts to go south though with those partnerships, I'll change my mind. The sad news about the death though, I will say, and I told our community this, and I'm not gonna say it on the channel because I don't want YouTube to get problems, but if it was a car accident or a health related thing, they usually tell people. It was a tragic accident. They tell people there's two types of deaths that they usually don't release details on. And I'll let people kind of think for themselves what those two types of deaths are. So it will be interesting, even on that note, what comes out, if it ever comes out. I think one of my business partners was telling me some people remember Plume's founder died last year, and we still don't know exactly why he died. So will we ever find out? I don't know. But at the moment, back to the price action itself, I'm going to continue to trust ONDO and the ONDO team until they give me a good reason not to.
Let's take a look at, so when you think about where ONDO is as a token, you look at really the innovation that ONDO has really brought forward. You kind of have to leap forward and go, all right, what other major innovations are underway out there? Because if you look at agentic trading, Robinhood launched agentic trading and an agentic credit card. So this is going to let AI agents basically to use Robinhood through MCP servers. It's talking about it here in the tweet. You're going to have agentic trading as a separate account, so you can utilize it there. I just wonder if Robinhood has advanced fast enough. Would you allow this? You're a trader, would you let agentic trading work in your account even if it was a separate account and you'd let it run?
I will someday. I'm not trusting the first couple models. I still think at the moment a good human mind is a better trader than AI. That might not be the case long term. I don't know. We'll have to kind of see how this develops. Because the problem is once you start getting everything trading AI and all the algorithms are just working, well, now all of a sudden someone's going to create an algorithm to come in and disrupt the other algorithms so that they win and the others lose.
Yeah.
So I think there's always going to be a time period. I think there's always going to be a way to say human brains. This is what's so crazy, Paul. Human brains are still, scientists can't explain the way our brains work the way they work. AI is brilliant. I incorporate AI into my work every single day, but it still is nothing compared to a human brain. So as much as I'm excited about AI and I want to incorporate it into my financial journey, I'm not going to just blindly trust it and turn off my human brain either.
Yeah.
And I think going forward, it's going to be very important that people don't just default to AI for trading, default to AI for investing, and they still try to learn and process it all themselves.
All right, well, let's take a look at Robinhood from a chart standpoint, because people will probably buy this in the sense of understanding that agentic, if you just stick agentic on anything, it feels like the chart goes up.
Yeah, this is one of the assets actually in the stock world that I've been accumulating here since this correction down. You know, we had this call from weeks ago at this point. I mean, months ago, December, January, we talked about a big break to the downside. You guys can see here, we had a target that we had from, way back in January hit just perfectly around 64. So our community has been accumulating Robinhood in this area right here between 64 and roughly $76. So as starting to go back up, I'm very glad. This is good for my portfolio. Yeah. I knew it was about time. I've been tracking here that we were starting to get some buy signals coming back in on the daily chart. I think even the weekly chart, if I'm not wrong, the weekly chart recently had some really bullish stuff happen here. Fresh weekly buy signals. The MACD crossed bullish here recently. All very good signs for Hood. And I don't dislike base. Like I don't take what I'm about to say as being like nobody should invest in Coinbase or coin. I said base. I meant coin. No one should invest in coin. But I kind of came to a place when I was building my new portfolio with crypto and stocks, and I wanted to only choose 5 stocks for this new portfolio. And it came down to should I invest in coin or Hood? After all of the TA and the data I was going through, I came to the conclusion I think that Hood is the better play than coin. And that doesn't mean coin's not going to do well. It doesn't mean coin's not worth people's investments. But I came to my personal conclusion, I would rather hold Hood than coin. And we'll see if I'm right or not.
All right. Well, it's down 46% from last October. So if you are going to get into it, even though the last day or so, again, I think because of some of these announcements that they're making, it's had a nice little move up to 82, but still down 46%, really, if you look at it. So it might be a good time. Might be a good time to try to accumulate some of Robinhood. All right, you guys know what to do. Check out Tim's channel over there. It's Tim Warren Trades on YouTube. Doing a great job hitting on a few things on this. Let's go to your videos right there. Should I sell? And that's talking about ONDO. Yep. I like that one. And of course, Bitcoin updates all the time. How many videos are you guys dropping a day? Is it 1 a day?
It depends. There's certain days we put out 2. We're going live every single day at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to cover news and charts. And then I used to do another video per day, but I've really kind of come back and said, you know what? I'm not going to put out 100 different videos that some of them are good and some of them are bad. We're going for quality over quantity now. So if I don't have a good video to put out, I'll just skip that day. If I have a good video to put out, we're putting something out that day.
There you go, my man. Check it out. Tim, thanks a lot for stepping in today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Paul.
If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.